Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Happy Monday, happy new week. How are y'all doing on this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day? Listen, today's conversation, I'm so excited about it. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. But I'm going to start it off. I'm going to kick it off by asking a question. And you can answer this in your head, in your notebook, in your notes app, or in the chat if you feel compelled. And that question is, what happens when the strategy that women were taught to rely on, it no longer creates the safety that it was promised? Because this is a very serious question and it is going to set the context and the frame about everything that we're going to be talking about today in this discussion. What happens when the strategy women were taught to rely on no longer creates the safety it was promised? That is a serious question, y'all. What happens when you spend years becoming educated, dependable, hardworking, adaptable, emotionally intelligent, and professionally excellent, only to realize that none of those things remove the underlying financial pressure that you still carry every single month? Today, it's the first of the month, okay? Bills are due. What happens when you become all those things and you still carry financial pressure every single month? Because that's the conversation that is quietly happening for a lot of women right now. We're not necessarily publicly having this conversation until today. We're not having it in some type of dramatic way, but we're definitely internally having this conversation with ourselves because women are waking up realizing that exhaustion is not stability. Exhaustion is not stability. Somebody drop stability in the chat because there is a difference between looking successful on paper and feeling secure and safe in your life. I'm going to say that again because this is really important and I don't want y'all to miss it. There is a real difference between looking successful on paper, on the internet, and feeling secure and feeling safe in your life. Because here's the truth. A lot of women, y'all did everything right. You did what we were told to do. We built the careers. We stayed responsible. We became the person everybody, lottie-dottie, and everybody could rely on. We learned how to produce under pressure. We learned how to survive inside systems that rewarded consistency and performance. But somewhere along the way, many of us started realizing that one paycheck no longer creates the kind of security or safety it may have created 20 or 30 years ago. It's not happening in this economy. It's not happening with the cost of gas and groceries. It is not happening with how quickly industries are changing. It's not happening with layoffs that are literally happening every single day. It's not happening with the technology that is evolving at the pace that it's evolving. And many women are carrying a growing awareness that the old formula isn't creating the same sense of safety anymore. The internet has changed opportunity. It changed visibility. It changed access. It changed who gets paid and who stays broke. It changed how money moves. But too many women are still trying to build financial security and financial safety using the rules that were designed for a completely different era in time. And today, that is exactly what we are going to be talking about. That is what we're going to be talking about. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Welcome back to another episode of Nick at Noon. My name is Nick Scott. I'm the founder and CEO of Her Income Edit. We are an online education platform where we help professional women turn the skills they already have into coaching income, into digital products, into multiple streams of revenue beyond a single paycheck. If you are excellent at what you do, and you're starting to question whether your job is your only option, you are in the right place. So if you haven't already, I invite you to go get your notebook and your pen. I want you to text the link to this video to your biz bestie, and I want you to stay with me today because This is not going to be surface level motivation. I know it's Monday and we're used to the motivational posts and all the things, but this is not going to be surface level motivation, y'all. This is going to be the conversation beneath the conversation. Okay? And I really want y'all to stay with me for this one, because later on, I'm going to break down exactly why I created my micro course 2K in 2 hours. Because what I started to realize is that women are already sitting on a ton of monetizable skills. The issue isn't that they have nothing valuable to offer, because they do. The issue is that they've spent most of their lives being taught how to work inside of systems and inside of structures without ever learning how to package what you know into income that's outside of your job. And the thing about it is, once you understand that, the way you look at money, the way you look at work, and the way that you look at opportunity, it starts to change. Okay? Are y'all ready for this conversation? If you're ready, type ready in the comments, because we're about to get into it. So, one of the hardest things for people to admit is that the old formula no longer feels convincing in the way that it once did. So, for a long time, the promise, it was very straightforward, right? It was go to school, it was get educated, it was build a stable career, it was work hard, stay loyal, climb the ladder, and eventually, if you did all those things, your life would feel safe, right? And to be clear, let's be very, very clear, because I don't want anybody running around in these internet streets saying something that I didn't say. So I just want to clarify. I'm not saying that education has no value, because clearly I have multiple degrees and I've been compensated very well because of those degrees. So I'm not saying that education has no value. I'm not saying that careers have no value, because we all know that they do. And I'm not saying that jobs are bad. What I am saying is that women, we have followed that formula to the letter, and to the number, because we know formulas there's not just letters, and it's numbers in there too, right? We went to school, we got educated, we built the careers, we worked hard, we stayed loyal, we climbed the ladder, and we still don't feel safe. So we followed that formula to the letter and the number, and we still feel financially exposed. And that is the part, y'all, that people keep dancing around. People are not addressing the literal elephant in the room. Because listen, there are women who are making six figures right now, and they still feel pressure financially every single month when it's time to pay their bills, when it's time to write that check for college tuition, when it's time to write that check for their mortgage, when it's time to write that check for their vacation deposit, right? There are women with impressive careers who still feel one emergency away from disruption. There are women who technically made it according to society standards, but privately, they're realizing that they don't feel free. And I don't know about you, but that is exhausting. And I know there are women who are exhausted from pretending, because the cost of living, it keeps going up, it keeps rising. And one thing that I have learned about the cost of living over my multiple decades of life is, once those prices go up, they don't come back down. So when the cost of living, it keeps rising, when industries, they keep shifting, when layoffs are becoming a normal part of our culture, and when companies are expecting more output with fewer resources, eventually we have to start asking ourselves different questions. We have to. We can't continue to ask the question of, how can I become a better employee? We can't ask that anymore. We have to start asking, how do I create more leverage in my life? And those are two very completely different conversations. Two very completely different conversations. Many women were trained to survive inside of structures and inside of systems, and not necessarily taught to build ownership outside of those systems and structures. So we learned how to be dependable. We learned how to produce. We learned how to manage pressure, how to solve problems, how to overperform. And we learned how to hold everything together. But very few of us were taught how to monetize, how to independently monetize our skills. Very few of us were taught how to look at our knowledge, the systems that we have built, our experience, our communication skills, our perspectives and POVs, and our problem solving ability through the lens of economic value outside of a traditional workplace. So now what we have is I'm going to say a world full of incredibly capable women saying things like, I don't know what I would sell. I'm not entrepreneurial, or I don't really have a business idea. And honestly, many of them are completely wrong about that. And it's not because everybody needs to become a full-time entrepreneur. That is not what I'm saying. Y'all know this. Y'all know I believe that if you're new here, this is it might be a new concept for you, but I believe that your job should be the first investor in your business. So I'm not saying all this because I believe that everybody needs to become a full-time entrepreneur, because that's not what I believe. I mean, eventually, if that's what happens, if that is the way that things unfold for you, then 100%. But I don't believe everybody needs to become a full-time entrepreneur. But I do believe that women consistently underestimate how valuable their existing skills are. A woman who has spent 10 years in her profession solving problems, she has knowledge. A woman who constantly helps people organize, communicate, plan, market, strategize, simplify, educate, or execute anything, she has value. And the thing about it is, because those abilities, those skills feel normal to her, she assumes that those skills are ordinary. And that's one of the biggest mindset traps that I see. And that is that women dismiss the very things that people would gladly pay a premium for, because those skills become invisible to you through the repetition of doing it. And one of the reasons that her income edit exists is because many people still haven't emotionally caught up to what the internet has changed. Because the internet has changed access in ways that, I mean, think about like your 10-year-old self, okay? My 10-year-old self, there was no internet. There definitely no plug in the wall internet, no dial-up modem, no Wi-Fi, no mobile devices. like, like, listen, the internet has dramatically changed access. Like, we didn't have visibility into other people's lives. We didn't know what celebrities were doing unless we were watching Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous on TV, on a TV that, by the way, we had to watch it at 7 p.m. on Saturday or we missed it. So the internet has changed access to a lot of things, just, I mean, in ways I could have never imagined. And there was a time in my life when monetization depended very heavily on gatekeepers. Like, you needed a publishing company to publish a book or to start a magazine. You needed networks. You needed a storefront to sell something. You needed large startup capital if you wanted to start a business. You needed corporate backing. You needed an institution to approve you to start your business. But now, today, somebody can build a business from their laptop using the skills that they already have. And people are doing it all day, every day. And that doesn't mean success is automatic. It doesn't mean that building a business is any easier because access through the internet has dramatically changed. It doesn't mean that everybody becomes rich overnight, but it does mean that the barrier to entry, it looks very, very, very different than it used to. And women need to stop minimizing how significant that shift really is. I mean, honestly, because the longer, because no longer is this just an economy where people can earn based exclusively on labor hours. Those economics, it doesn't work anymore, because now people can package their expertise. They can create digital products. They can build consulting offers. They can monetize their niche knowledge. Like literally, people are teaching goat yoga. People can literally monetize their niche knowledge. People can teach skills. They can create frameworks. They can solve specific problems online with very specific audiences. And no, you do not need millions of followers to start. Because honestly, that is another myth that is keeping women stuck. Because a lot of women making money, let me rephrase that. A lot of the women who are making the most money online, they're not even famous. They're just very clear. They understand their problem deep enough that they can communicate it as a useful solution and in a way that their people, they immediately recognize it. And honestly, clarity is becoming way more valuable than noise because consumers are overwhelmed right now. Like we have a lot going on in our lives right now. We have a lot that we're carrying. We have a lot that we're thinking about. We have a lot that's keeping us up at night. And consumers are overwhelmed. We are drowning in information. We are drowning in content. We are drowning in advice. So the people who stand out increasingly, and this is just my observation, having been online and doing, things quietly and not so quietly over the last 18 years. I'm seeing increasingly that the people who stand out, they're not necessarily the loudest people. They're the clearest people. And I'm talking about the people who can help somebody move from confusion to clarity. The people who can save you time, the people who can simplify complexity, the people who can create transformation without making things unnecessarily complicated. And honestly, I don't think most women stay stuck because they're lazy. I mean, clearly you're not. I believe that women stay stuck because they overcomplicate monetization before you've even started it. Like you assume that you need a perfect niche, a perfect logo, a perfect website, a huge audience. You think you need advanced branding, complicated funnels, professional video equipment, or years of preparation before you start, before you even can even feel like you're ready. And let me be clear, because if you believe those things, please understand that you're not alone, and that was something that has been articulated and communicated and projected for so many years. So if you believe that, it was by design. It was by design. But here's the thing. Some of the most profitable online offers, they're solving simple, specific problems. And so many women have been conditioned to believe that you need to become a completely different person before you're allowed to make any money on your own through the internet. But often the transformation, it isn't becoming a different person. It's finally recognizing the value in who you already are. And that is a much deeper mindset shift, right? Because once women stop seeing themselves exclusively as employees and they start seeing themselves as creators of value, so much in that will psychologically change. Because once you understand that, and once you own it and embody it and move with it, the way you negotiate changes, the way you move changes. Like you just show up, you walk differently. The way you think changes, the way you speak changes, the way you tolerate certain environments changes too. Because when you have multiple streams of income, you have options. And options change the way that people show up emotionally. It changes the way that people show up emotionally. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. I believe we need to talk more honestly about the pressure that is tied to depending upon one source of income. Because too many of us have normalized financial stress. Too many of us have normalized. I want to slow it down. We have normalized financial stress simply because every single person around us is financially stressed too. So it's normal to us. But normalized pressure is still pressure. I had a conversation with my daughter this morning, um, and she was talking about mental health and how, we were talking about her possibly having children. And I was saying there's so much going on in the world and all the things, right? So, some kind of way we started talking about mental health. And she was like, I take care of my mental health. And, she's just talking about how she can recognize signs when it's time for her to really take care of her mental health. And then she said something that was real, but it was also kind of like, girl, who are you talking to? She says, well, your generation didn't really, take care of your mental health. That's real. She's right. Because it's like we normalize in my generation, certain types of stresses, certain types of pressures, certain types of baggage that children and adults carry. So now we have a bunch of adults who have normalized all of these stresses and pressures and baggages. But the thing about it is the same as this financial stress that I'm talking about. Normalized pressure, whether you're Gen X or not, it is still pressure. Financial stress is still stress. And just because everybody around you is carrying the same baggage and carrying the same load, it doesn't make it any less pressure. And there is pressure in feeling like your entire lifestyle depends on one employer continuing to choose you. There is pressure in knowing that one disruption can create instability, not just for your life, but in your children's lives, in your partner's lives, in your parents' lives, in your community. There is pressure in constantly feeling like you have to tolerate environments that drain you because your survival depends on just one stream of income. And that is why I will be on a soapbox about this all day, every day, today, tomorrow, next week. I will always say that this conversation is bigger than money. This conversation is bigger than business. Because what I'm talking about is leverage. I'm talking about flexibility. I'm talking about breathing room. Because oftentimes women do not want luxury first. We just want relief. We want relief from constantly feeling financially boxed in. We want relief from feeling trapped, from feeling like our lives are completely dependent on systems that we don't control. And if I'm being real, I believe that more women deserve that. I believe that more women deserve that kind of relief. That is exactly why I created Her Income Edit. I want this to be a movement, y'all. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm giving you, just a little bit of glimpse into my mind and my vision for this. I want this to be a whole movement. And within this movement, I have had some realization about some things, right? In my vision and the way that I see this becoming what it's going to become as it unfolds. And one of the realizations led me to create 2K in 2 hours. And I mentioned that at the top of this episode, but I really want to talk a little bit about this before we leave today, before this conversation ends. Because I watch women make monetization feel way more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, I am watching highly intelligent, high achieving women turning their skills into income harder than it, because most of us have spent years learning how to perform inside of systems and structures that are built by other people without or ever learning how to package our skills independently of that. So when you finally decide that you want another stream of income, you immediately assume you need to build an empire before you make your first dollar. And that mindset right there, it keeps people stuck for years. And that is why I created this micro course called 2K in 2 hours, because I really focus within that micro course on helping women identify monetizable skills that they already have. I help you understand how to correctly position those skills and simplify the process of creating offers that solve problems. Because often what you need first is not another degree. And listen, I know that Black women, we are the most educated population in this country. I know that. We get degrees like people drink water. People need to drink water. Like, we get the degrees, but you don't need another degree first. You don't need another year of overthinking or another season of doubting yourself in this. You need clarity. Because the thing is, once clarity clicks, momentum starts to build much faster. Momentum starts to build much faster. So I really hope that today's conversation helped you realize that you're probably much closer to your next stream of income than you think you are. If anything about what I just said about 2K in 2 hours struck with you, the link is down in the description, or you can go to my website at herincomeedit.com/2K. But the thing is, you are much closer to this than you think you are. And I hope this conversation kind of laid some of that groundwork for you. And you're closer than you think you are, not because building an income or any income, second, third, fourth stream of income, it's not effortless. And success doesn't happen overnight. But the internet has changed access in ways that many of us are still processing. Like, we're still trying to get on board with it. I mean, if you're like me, here's the crazy thing. When I started on YouTube in 2009, when I uploaded my very first YouTube video to this channel that you're watching on, in 2009, I was so skeptical. I was creating faceless content for years before I actually showed my face on the internet, because I was skeptical. I was scared. I didn't trust it. I was like, what is this thing? Are people just going to show up to my doorstep? Like, I just didn't know. You understand what I'm saying? But now, all these years later, it's like, okay, there's a way to use this, to leverage this, to create opportunity and options for myself. And I do feel like, especially with this inflection of AI, and let's be clear, AI has been around and working in our lives silently in the background, for my recollection, at least since the 80s. But now we've given it a different term, and we're calling it artificial intelligence and machine learning and all these things. But these things have been happening for decades, y'all. For decades. But I think with AI, it has created another space for people to be skeptical, for people to, kind of raise an eyebrow, like, I don't really know what this is. But the thing about it is that it's not just the internet. It is the information. It is the way that we're using the technology that has changed access in ways that so many of us are still trying to process. And this isn't about being an early adopter, because I am an Aquarius all day long. And if you know anything about Aquarii, that's the plural for Aquarius. We are overthinkers by, most of us. So yes, I am textbook Aquarius. I am an overthinker. So it is not about becoming an early adopter. It is about understanding that you have the skills and you have the power to create leverage and opportunities for your own life. And it's because how accessible things are today. Like, you can sit right now on your phone, get your little EIN or whatever you need, and start your business literally in the palm of your hand. It wasn't like that before. And the truth is, the women who learn how to adapt to this shift, they're going to be moving very differently over the next decade. It's not even going to take a decade. Over the next 12 months, over the next 6 months. The women who learn how to adapt to this quickly, they're going to move differently than the ones who don't. And you don't need to become somebody else to do this. But you might need to stop underestimating the value of what you already know. Because that one thing right there, what I just said, underestimating the value of what you already know, when you stop doing that, that literally can change the trajectory of your life. I've seen it happen. Had I not posted that first YouTube video in 2009, so many things in my life would not have happened. I would not have had a career in marketing, communications, and branding had I not posted that first YouTube video in 2009. It would not have happened. That decision, as scared as I was back then, it created a world of opportunity for myself and for my family. And we're in those moments right now. We are in those moments right now. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks so much for hopping on. Thanks so much for rocking with me today. I hope you found some value in today's conversation. If you did, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up, to leave me a comment and let me know what part stood out to you most. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn your notifications on so you don't miss any of my content. Yeah, let me know what you liked. Let me know what you want to talk about next. What questions do you have for me? Thanks so much for popping in and out of today's conversation. If you missed any of the conversation, I would highly encourage you to catch the replay for this one. Because we are over here. Like, I'm creating a movement, and I that have chosen to be an early adopter and joining me on this movement. So whether you watch a video, whether you share a video, whether you're subscribed to my email list, whether you follow me on any of my social media and engage with my content, know that I see you, I recognize you, I appreciate you, and we are going to be moving in this thing, okay? So I am here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Mountain Time. And I will see y'all on Wednesday. So enjoy the start of your week, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Okay? Bye.